What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and on this episode we're back on the Widebody Delorean. I'm still calling it the Widebody Delorean. As you remember on the last episode when we started working on this car, at the end of the episode I asked you guys what we need to start naming these things. So if you haven't done so already, hit up the comment section below and let me know what you think the name of this car should be and our V8 car, so we can start to differentiate the two. But anyway, we're going to be on this car again this episode and get this thing dialed to the point where it's never been before. Last episode we got rid of the air ride. We threw our KW coilovers front and rear. Chris has been working hard on a lot of the wiring. He's still got some wiring going on in the front area. It's got a lot of room for activities now that we got the air tank, the air compressor, all that stuff out of the way. Like I said before, the owner didn't want the air ride anymore, and also Airlift Performance has canceled their Builder Series shocks. On top of the fact that we want to do some racetrack things with this car in the near future as well, because I know a lot of you guys have wanted to see this thing actually do stuff and not just hard park at SEMA, and I do too. Last episode we removed the turbo system. We got our Garret mirror image turbos in there, whole bunch of titanium, because the system, the oiling system, wasn't working properly. We had an oil pump hooked up to a sump tank with lines and all this jazz, and it just looked really crowded and cramped. It just didn't look right to me. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut these pontoons out. I call these pontoons because they're literally hollow openings. We have about 6 inches of charge pipe to play with, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut this all out. We're going to remove this charge pipe that's just held in with our Vibrant HD clamps. We're going to cut our connection here to where it goes to the inlet on the turbo to actually spool the turbos. We're going to leave these headers the way they are, and what I want to do is I want to cut this and create a little 90 to be able to bring the turbo up about 4 inches. I only need to do about 2 inches in order to get the drain to go into the oil pan without any assistance from any electric pumps or anything like that. But I'm going to tuck these bad boys up as high as I can. The reason for that is because I want Tyler, who created this wide body kit for us, he's going to make a rear diffuser for this car, and it's really going to close out the back end real nice so that this is all just nice and finished. This is the one piece of the build, one piece of the puzzle that we never really got to finish out and make 100%. So that's kind of what we're going to be shooting for this episode. So enough jibber jabber. I'm going to start cutting up these rear pontoons, placing our turbos where we want them, and start welding up new inlets. So let's get to work. All right, guys, so we got everything out of the way for the turbo system, and we went ahead and just cleaned everything up because we're going to be ready to get our Garrets back on there, our mirror image turbos. Our headers are ready to go. But before we go ahead and start mocking everything back up, we're gonna go ahead and start cutting up the car. So the concept is, this frame rail is obviously our highest point that we can go with the turbo. I want the exhaust to kind of come out before the turbo's down here, and the exhaust 90s comes over, does a U, and then comes up and out. Inlet of the intercooler's there, so we're gonna have this tiny little scab. So I'm gonna take a straight cut right from here, boom, come right across to here, and then I'm going to come down and follow this profile here, these 3 holes where the old brackets were. I'll probably come straight up from there, and I want to keep this apron on the backside because I don't want to cut up there because the wheels are going to get all kinds of debris all over the turbos. I can do something on the bottom of the diffuser that we plan on doing, like a NACA duct, and then it'll kind of push it up into the turbo and get some airflow. That's all later though. Right now, I want to get this all cut away, get our turbo in place, and figure out how we're going to connect the dots. Well, I thought I could reuse my original 90 that was modified to actually point the turbo down to get it down below this whole area. So I cut it and re-welded it into a 90 like this, but it's still way too low. I think what needs to happen is I need to get probably 2 tight radius 90s to do like a U-bend, So then I can take a 45 out of the second 90. Shoots it up like up in this hole, as opposed to right here. I need to get the turbo like as high up as I can get it. And I think how I'm gonna do that is to be able to do one of these. Because I want the exit of the turbo, where the exhaust is gonna be, right under that frame rail. So I want it just like this. I'll order some material, I'll be back in a second. All right, so we got a little special package in, right over there, but the bench is a little messy, so we gotta clean it up. All right, that's better. So we got our package in from Tycon. Now, these should be the tight radius legs, no extra material outside of the bend. Yes. I love how this stuff is all packed so nice and clean. So we're gonna end up doing a complete U-bend here, boom, boom. Complete U-bend here, boom, boom. And I got one extra just in case I need to do a 15, which is cut in half. And then I got a little straight that will jog it over. So what we're gonna do is unbag these, tack them together, and then we'll go throw them in the car and see how it lines up with our turbos. Then we're gonna go ahead and reuse these inlet flanges for our turbos and remake our wastegate dumps. The turbo's up in the pocket, guys. It looks great. So this 90 puts a 45, got the job done. The only thing I'm really doing the math in my head right now is the inlet on the intercooler. That the alignment is way off. So I really like the turbo nice and flat, but the inlet on this side right here is kind of janky. So we might have to spin it. So basically, we clock it just a hair. And then I might actually be able to fit our low profile K&N filter in that pocket and then create like maybe like a little air scoop or something underneath, like a NACA duct. Just might fit, just barely might fit. Yeah, if I get in there and cut the rest of this fiberglass away, this whole back half of the car, there's no strength here. The strength is there. So everything from here on back, you can theoretically cut off if you wanted to and you still drive the car no problem. I'm not too worried about cutting all that away, because there's not a lot of, you know, this isn't the part that actually holds the car together. And then once all that's done, then we could 3D print some new covers, I think is what probably is gonna happen. I have this added flange here. We'll scan this whole thing and then create like a 3D printed plastic case that comes around it. I'm liking the position of the turbo, everything's tacked in place. So I'm gonna use these measurements, use the turbo, where it's sitting, to be able to transfer all this over to that side. I'll get the turbos in, get them all hung, get our wastegate placement, which is probably going to be somewhere under here, and then we'll connect the dots for the cold side. But for right now, the hard part is getting these turbos in place, and I'm really liking the way this is turning out. This is a lot better than what it was before. All right. Turbos are in. So we got our driver's side, passenger side, and now the moment of truth. So originally, when you remember seeing the pictures of this car at SEMA last year, when you looked at the profile of the car, you had the entire turbo was inside of this frame, was inside this little picture frame. The whole turbo was fully exposed. Now you got, what, a ½ inch of the snail? You can see the turbo back here. This is way better. It's tucked way up higher. And now what I want to do is I'm going to take my level on my drain, go ahead and level it out. And we have about 4 or 5 inch differential. So we know with a nice 90, when we run our drain line over, we're going to have a nice pitch on this turbo. So we're not gonna have any pooling. Oil's not gonna get backed up into the turbo, into the cartridge, and blow out the exhaust side, which was the problem we were having. So I'm pretty happy with the turbo placement. Our outlet is right under the frame rail, like perfectly under the frame rail. It's like right there on both sides, as you can see. I'm pretty happy to put a button on this, and we're gonna pull these headers out, final weld them, throw them back in, mock the turbos back up, then we can start placing our wastegates. I still have to cut this out to get our filters to fit, and then we can build an exhaust. But for right now, I'm really liking the way this is looking. What do you guys think? This is cool. I'm liking this a lot. Our headers are all welded up. We got our turbos in there. Our filters are in place in this little pocket, looking really nice. Everything's tucked up under the fender really good. Look at that. You can barely see the turbo hanging out. We're gonna do a little skirt that goes right here. Boop, boop, come over. Pretty much encapsulate the whole turbo. Both sides look really good. I'm pretty happy with the fitment. So that stage is done. Now we can do the exhaust. But I wanna do the cold side first because that's gonna be the difficult side. The turbos were down here. HD clamp there. And I had a little charge pipe, little doodad, probably like a 4 or 5 inch long pipe, and then connected the dots. So you drew air in from the side here, charge pipe came in, intercooler, over to the intake manifold. The problem I'm having is, you know, these 2 points are very, very off. So I'm probably gonna clock this side forward, cut this guy off, and hopefully it's not too tight, and I can use this leftover material that I have over here. I have some tight radius 2.5 inch, very tight radius 2.5 inch stuff from Vibrant. So I got a couple of these bends left over that might actually work. I want to change the inlet point on the intake on our Vibrant cores. I'm going to cut these guys off because I'm going to reuse these. What we'll end up doing is putting this back in the car, and then we'll do a straight shot. I'm going to put this on an angle and do a straight shot up so we don't have to do any jogs anymore. And then we'll just tack weld it in the corner. And then whatever's hanging over and is loose, we'll re-sheet metal this face, because this is gonna move over probably to like half. So whatever's left over, we'll open it up, we'll redo the end tank here, probably cut this plate up, so then leave the top, so we'll just have to bend it out. And then we'll replate it and finish it all out so that it's all new again. This is like the hardest part, and this is the biggest hurdle that I didn't wanna biggest reason why for so long I didn't want to raise these turbos, because I knew that this was going to be a big hassle. So we're going to cut these things off now, throw them back in the car, we'll clean them all up so we have a nice weldable surface, and then we'll be able to start connecting our dots with our 2.5 inch material. So we got this little 1.5 inch length, and I decided to modify our end tank like I said before. So what we're gonna do is, I went ahead and tacked this in the car. This is how much further it needs to come out in order to catch our new position on our turbo. You could probably just create just kind of how I have here. Weld a flat plate and then just plate it all back in, kind of the way it is. A lot of grinding, a lot of blending, guys, but we've been having a lot of fun making this new end cap. So this is pretty much done. If you want to blend your aluminum down, you have to weld the inside of it. Otherwise it'll just crack. That's how you keep it from cracking. So we've already prepped the opening on this side, plugged the old hole. Now this guy just comes up here and just goes just like this. So we'll go ahead and weld this. We're gonna have to leave the welds on this one because I don't have any way of welding on the inside of it unless I cut the whole thing off and then weld the inside here. I'm not gonna do that. But this whole thing is inside the pontoon, so I've gone pretty far as getting this thing looking as pretty as possible. We're gonna go ahead and weld this up now, blend it all out, do a nice finish pass on it with the aluminum, and then we'll pop a new hole in the bottom of this and we're pretty much done. Then we gotta throw this back in the car and we have the driver's side all set. All right guys, our turbos are in and they are looking pretty spicy. So we got our passenger side in there, driver's side in there, and we did kick the turbos at a little bit of an angle. And we did that to be able to clearance the filter up into this pocket, so the filter just sits right underneath this little ledge right here, and also to be able to jog underneath this frame rail. So it's got a little bit of a kick, not too bad, and same with this side, a little bit of a kick. So they're both matching. Now, next thing I want to do, I'm debating whether or not to do the drain lines first before I do the wastegate dumps, because I want to position these wastegates like right behind the turbo and then, you know, dump it out. So I'm probably going to modify our exhaust. So we're going to do a couple things. I want to do, you know, we have all this that's going on with the old exhaust system. This is, I'm probably going to get rid of all this stuff because we're going to do a diffuser, and this didn't really do a whole lot other than cover up that underdrive pulley, but since we're going to do a really cool diffuser in the back of the car now, I don't really have to worry about hiding the underdrive pulley with the exhaust. All the piping looked really cool back there and stuff like that. I might do it in the future, but for right now, just to lay it all out, I want to go ahead and just do 2 dumps. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the titanium exhaust here, boom, and here, boom. And then I'm going to cut here and have this pie cut and just turn it and probably remove some. So you can see in the back of the car, it's going to come up on an angle and do a little turn down. Right where that turn down is where our diffuser is going to like die into it, and that goes in that low pressure spot that I was talking about, trying to do like some sort of Formula 1 type thing. I think it's going to clean up the back of the car a lot better than just having like a big twisty exhaust system, make it look a little bit more OE, because honestly there's no OEM supercars or anything like that on the market right now with completely exposed back ends, half cut, all that stuff. I'm trying to make the car look more OEM, homologated, IMSA race car from the 80s, which was the original plan for this thing. So let's go ahead and do that now. We're gonna do the exhaust dumps. We'll put those in, and then I wanna start routing our oil lines because I wanna make sure that those have priority, because we can put our wastegates wherever we want. When you're doing stuff like this, guys, don't do all the like welding and fabrication first when you have oil lines and they go a specific way. In this instance, we know we have to go from here to there. So I'm not gonna put my dump like right underneath it and stuff like that. So I'm gonna put everything in my way first, then we'll run our oil lines, make sure all that's situated, and the turbo system is just about done. So we got our drain lines in, our exhaust pipes in place. Right now I set them at 15 degrees. So it's like right under that frame rail, just pointing down. You can imagine the bumper goes like right here. We're gonna put the bumper on just to confirm all of that, but I just wanna show you guys real quick the new drain line orientation. So it's got a nice 15-degree pitch to it. This should drain pretty nice. Shouldn't have any issues with back feed or anything like that. Now what I'm thinking is for our wastegates. So the wastegate dump, I'm probably gonna put underneath it, and I wanna create like a teardrop look. So we'll have the exhaust and the wastegate. And I'm thinking about extending this over and putting it in the center, but I can't really figure that out until the bumper's on. So what I wanna do next, guys, is mock up the rear bumper and just gotta visualize it, you know? Right now, we're not really understanding where the exhaust is gonna lie, where it looks good in relation to the car. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna kick these down just a couple more degrees. I'm gonna add my pie cut 90 to it, and then we'll leave it like that for now. And then what we're gonna probably end up doing is we'll run our wastegate pipes. I think our wastegate pipes might look better on top. Either that or it's gotta go beside it. But for right now, I'm gonna kick this down. I'm gonna do a little kick out on it, and then we're gonna go from there. And then once we have all this done, we're gonna go ahead and scan this one more time, send it to Tyler, and then he'll be able to make our diffuser. All right, so we got our wastegate all welded up, and it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna clean up the inside here a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and bolt it back in the car. What we did, guys, is we took the wastegate and we tucked it underneath the back of the car. So as you can see from the time lapse, we just took it from a straight down position where it was before, and we just came up level with the back of the inside of the wheel well. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up, bolt it back in, and then I'll show you guys exactly what we got going on. Originally I was gonna go with the wastegate dump underneath the turbo, but that puts it right underneath the oil line, and I don't want anything to happen as far as managing the heat with the oil line. So we're gonna go over the exhaust system and over the turbo, so the oil line is gonna be out of the heat zone. So we're gonna go ahead and mock this all up. I'll show you exactly what we're gonna do with the wastegate dump to the exhaust, and then we'll just repeat the whole process on the driver's side of the car. Alright guys, our turbo system is all set, and we have just a couple more things to do to this DeLorean to get it back running again and get it on the rollers finally, get it on the dyno. So real quick, we went ahead and we raised the turbos up. We got our dump pipes in there. We're gonna be getting a diffuser under there and finishing up the plumbing. We have our oil lines shortened up. We also tucked our wastegates up nice and tight. And we're also going to be running our oil feed lines, and I'm gonna route them on the frame rail and on the actual side of the engine as opposed to everything hanging down below. And that's gonna give us the ability to put our nice big diffuser under the back of the car. Brad's gonna come back next episode and throw the wiring harness back in to get our Haltech IC7 display fired up, as well as our Nexus R5, and get everything dialed in with the lights and everything that Chris did on our previous episode. So if you haven't checked that out, go ahead and check it out. So this thing is super close to getting back on the ground and getting running. And as you can see, we are missing a body kit. Went ahead and boxed that bad boy up, sent it back to Canada. So Tyler from Fortune Auto Design can pull some molds to get us some actual fiberglass production parts, which I'm super excited about because we're actually going to be getting another kit in for Marty as well as Doc, because we're calling the cars Marty and Doc now. I'm pretty pumped about that. We also have a new front bumper coming in on the next episode. So guys, stay tuned because we have a lot more content coming out on this car as well as our other one. I don't know many channels out there that have 2 V8 DeLorean projects, but we do. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing and all the comments. Keep it up. We're growing the channel day by day, and we'll see you on the next episode.